Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 2 of the Bettor and the Bookmaker. And it looks like the Bookmakers took in a little bit from the Bettors here after this first week of picks. Anthony, what was your take on the weekend here?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was a couple of upsets. I mean, the Cincinnati game had to be big for the bookmakers. The Giant game had to be big for the bookmakers. Definitely, the bookmakers definitely took it down. I'm curious to know what Vegas took down on that on Sunday. You know, the people I know that have bet, like all my friends that bet, nobody won Sunday. They all lost. I mean, the night game, the Denver game, you know, that they lost. They all across the board. So it was definitely a day for the bookmakers.
I couldn't see anybody taking Seattle really, you know, going with Geno Smith, an older veteran quarterback, Russell Wilson. You know he wanted that win, but just like when I picked Carolina as my game of the week, it looks like the people weren't ready to dish out their revenge because Baker couldn't get it done. Russ couldn't get it done. And that's where the bookmakers clean up when you think things are going to go a certain way, and then they don't. And by rights, it should have. Denver should have won that game. Three times they're on the 1 yard line and come away with no points.
Without a doubt. And then at the end of the game, it's 4th and 5. The coach, you know, calls time, wastes 20 seconds, calls timeout, tries to kick a 66-yard field goal. It's ridiculous. I mean, they ripped the next day. I was watching all the sports channels. I was in the gym and I was, on the treadmill under the sports TV, and they were like ripping this guy up. Like, it was amazing, this call he made. So yeah, but that's all plays into, that's all plays into the bets. It all plays into the gambling aspect of it. You know, that's what happens when you gamble.
Yep. And like we said, we talked about our pick. My pick, Carolina, was looking good for a minute. I think when it started, it was -1, so it looked like we were going to get out of there with a push, which any better knows that's better than a loss. I'll take a push over a loss any day. But that rookie kicker nailed like a 58-yarder in the closing seconds. So we took a loss on that one. The Redskins game, now we did come out with a win on that. They pulled it out over Jacksonville.
Yes, they did. Jacksonville's horrible again.
Yeah. And the over and under in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, I don't know if you got a chance to see that one, but that was a crazy game. Nobody wanted to win it, it looked like. Went almost to the end of overtime, and we missed the over by 1 point. And that lets you know that these odds makers out there, they know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Listen, odds makers, they're amazing. I mean, they're right on the money, a point here, a point there. I mean, they're mathematical geniuses. I mean, that's their job. You know, years ago, before all the internet service, we had to pay for the lines. We had to pay them services money every week, $250 a week, $300 a week. So they were getting, just to get lines out of Vegas, because these guys are amazing how they come up with lines, how they come up with under and overs. And even guys that could figure that out, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, so they definitely had it on the money. And then the Baltimore game that we picked to go with our teaser, we picked Baltimore. They covered that. And then if you added Carolina in there with that teaser, they did cover because they were only -1 point, so they were getting 6. They only lost the game by 2. So we split. We win 2, lose 2. Obviously, we didn't win the game of the week, which is kind of, you usually typically bet more on your game of the week than the others, but not terrible. But I didn't like the feeling going into Sunday, to tell you the truth, from all the upsets I seen on Saturday. I mean, you had Alabama coming this close to losing to Texas, for crying out loud. 1 point.
Yes, yeah. I didn't really watch many games on Saturday because I had things to do. But my son texted me about all that. Yeah, he was betting. He bets all that. He bets 20 games a day.
Oh, wow.
FanDuel, one of them apps.
Oh, yeah. You can get down on the FanDuel.
I bet $5 to win 900. Okay, yeah, good luck.
And there was a number of upsets. I think Notre Dame got upset. There was quite a few. So it seems like when you start off with your 12 o'clock games and you have a bunch of upsets, you can almost pick that to continue throughout the day. It seems like it's a trend, and it carried on into Sunday because you mentioned the Giants, your home team Giants, coming back last minute and beating.
That was a big game for the bookmakers. That was. I mean, the only games that might have hurt the bookmakers a little bit was Miami against New England. I'm sure everybody bet Miami with 2 hands. But there were a lot of home team dogs stood up. But all in all, I think the bookmakers had a big day on Sunday.
I think they did too.
Good
And
start to the season.
I think they had a huge day on Saturday as well. Well, let's get into it here. This week it'll be the third week of NCAA because I got a few NCAA picks that I like, and then we'll round it out. It'll be going into week 2 with the college football. So a team that's really impressed me, and I look at them a little bit harder these days because they got a coach from the Clemson Tigers up there, and Brent Venables, is Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma's 2-0 so far. They put up 30-something points. Brent Venables is a defensive-minded coach, and they're going up against Nebraska.
And they're minus 11.
They're minus 11. Nebraska's lost last week to Georgia Southern 45-42. So Georgia Southern by no means is a stand-up team. If they're putting up that kind of points to Georgia Southern, I think Oklahoma's probably going to have a field day. I don't really see why 10.5 points wouldn't be a very easy cover for Oklahoma on Saturday.
You know, college football, the lines never, the points never should scare you because, here, look at, I'll just give you an example. UConn against Michigan. Michigan's 47.5-point favorites. I mean, that's college, that's college football. Yeah, I agree with you 100% with Oklahoma.
I think that's a good pick. I mean, Brent Venables prides himself on not giving up a ton of points. So I don't see him letting a team like Nebraska stick around or even scoring too many garbage points. That's by and large where your covers and blown backdoor covers happen is at the end of the game because these starters come in, they put up all the points, then they rest them, they stick the backups in there, and that's where you got to hope either the backups can hold on to the lead or, you know, somebody might have something to prove and put up a couple of extra touchdowns to get you over that marker. So risk it. Betting on college is a little risky, but I like to throw in some college games. Another one that I'm going to pick is the defending NCAA champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. I'm not a big Gamecock believer, even though that's right here in literally my backyard. I'm not a big believer in the Gamecocks yet. I think they got a lot of work to do. They're not clicking where I think they need to be. Georgia seems to be clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, 2-0, minus 24.5 points.
Yeah, and last year they cleaned that up, no problem. I think they'll do it again this year. That's usually it used to be a big rivalry game back in the day, but not so much anymore. Georgia's kind of got a stronghold on that, and I think South Carolina is still really struggling to find their footing in college. So I'm going to go with Georgia, even though that's a 24.5-point game or 24.5. Still a big game, but I think Georgia pulls it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I like Ohio State too a little bit against Toledo. It's a rivalry game. I mean, even though Ohio State's minus 32 and they're both 2-0, I still think if I was gambling, I might take a shot with Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's one of them teams that you either love them or you hate them because one week they'll cover by 3 or 4 scores. Yeah, and then the next week they should do that and they'd lose and they don't cover it.
Yeah. But that's, you know, that's if I was gambling, that's what I would do. I you know, the points never scared me with college, you know, one way or the other, because the lines are always so huge, most of them. So NFL's completely different, but not college.
Now, the last one I'm looking at here, and this is kind of where you got to decide if you want to fade the public, because we talked about Texas, you know, nearly beating Alabama. You know, 1-point game. Their quarterback did get injured in that game. I don't think he's playing for Texas, but even the backup, I think, is pretty decent. They're playing University Texas San Antonio, UTSA, and they're only minus 11 points.
Yeah, I got them here minus 12.5.
Okay.
That might have been, this line might have been what it opened up at, and it might have went down. Probably
Correct.
Went down.
Correct. Yeah. Either way, you got to think if you hold off, you know, Alabama, who we know has been a juggernaut for the past decade or more, you got to think they would take a team like University Texas San Antonio to school. But that's also, can you get overconfident? And that's where the bookmakers love it, when everybody says, oh, well, you know, they done this against them, they should do this, you know, 4 times as better against this team. And like you said last week, that's when the bookmakers start doing this here.
Yes, definitely.
Because, you know, that's hard. I think Texas should cover the 10 points against Texas San Antonio, but that's one of them that I wouldn't put a lot on. If you want to play it, I would play it small. Definitely not your bankroll pick on that. I think my pick of the day in college, I will go with the Oklahoma, who we said in our first pick. That'll be my pick of the day in college.
That's good. I agree.
Now we'll roll over to the NFL. Typically, I'm not a fan of betting on the Thursday night games, at least not a lot, but I really do like Kansas City this week. With a Thursday night game, you have to add in the travel factor and fatigue. Kansas City's not going to have that as much because it's at home for them. San Diego is going to have to make that trip. Now, this is the division game.
You mean Los Angeles?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting they moved.
I do that all the time. And Kansas City had they had a big performance, on Sunday. I mean, they're rolling again.
Yeah. You couldn't tell me that they even lost some of the people they lost.
Even though they lost Hill, to the Dolphins, they're still clicking. So yeah, I like Kansas City myself. I think that might be a game that might hurt the bookmakers. When I was a bookmaker, those there wasn't fun Thursday night games, but the Monday night games, I hated to lose those games and start the week off in the red.
Right.
But I think this week that's going to happen because I think everybody's going to come in with Kansas City.
Okay. Now, question for you real quick before we get into our NFL picks. When you were a bookmaker, what day did y'all end y'all's weeks? Was it on Sunday night? Was that the end of the week and Monday you started fresh?
Sunday night, right. Sunday night, and we straightened out with everybody. We straightened out with everybody on Thursday.
Okay.
Straightened out with everybody on a Thursday, but we ended the week on a Sunday. And then during the NFL season, Monday, back then, the whole country watched Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football was huge when it first started. And it was huge, tremendous. So, like, everybody bet Monday Night Football. And you had to be careful because a lot of times it was, you had to really move your money. You had to really have edge off because a lot of Monday nights, it was all one-sided. Like I think this Thursday night's going to be all one-sided. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So you had to be very careful on a Monday night because you didn't want to go in the red for big money and then have to fight your way out. Even though you're a bookmaker and the odds are in your favor, you still don't want to start the week off that way.
And we both know when people get in a hole, they tend to want to double up and dig themselves out on a Monday night game, whatever they lost the previous week. And that's where, people usually bet large on your last game of the regular week or first game of the next week to try to get themselves back in the green. So a lot of action is usually played on that Monday night game, depending on where they're staying.
Yeah, and for gamblers, once they start chasing their money, they're in a lot of trouble.
Absolutely. There's an episode on Sopranos towards the end of the season, and that's exactly what it's called. It's called Chasing It. Where Tony Soprano, which obviously he's got money like that, but still you can see it even bothered him. He would say, I'll bet, 15 grand here and here. Then they lose. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to bet 100 grand here. Then it loses. Then he bets 100 on a horse and it loses. And then, he just gets in a rhythm.
Once gamblers start chasing their money, that's it. They're in trouble.
Yeah, that's one thing we want to stress, folks, doing this. We're doing this for fun for people that have the means to do it. But if it becomes somewhat of a problem, you might want to step away. This is for people with extra disposable income to have a little fun with it. When it becomes a situation like that where you're chasing, it might not be the thing for you. That when you might need to stick to the fantasy football and stuff like that for a few dollars, to hold you over. So
I haven't made any personal bets this year so far, but Sunday night I was watching the Dallas Tampa Bay game, and out of curiosity, it was halftime, and I went online to see what the second half line was, and Tampa Bay was +1.5. I had the phone in my hand to make a bet. I was going to take Tampa Bay +1.5, and then at the last minute I put it down. But they won the second half 7-0, so I actually would have won that bet, but I didn't make the bet because one of their receivers did get hurt. That's why it went up to they were +1.5.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people even check those lines, like you said, for the second half, especially if you feel like somebody might not have had it together or maybe started getting it together right before halftime. The Buffalo game on the season opener last week, I watched. I didn't get home in time to do any action on that when my son had his football game. So when I got home, I looked and LA tied it up right there at the end of halftime with a field goal. Well, when
Yeah.
I started looking, they said Buffalo, it was a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. So at that point, I think I took Buffalo for, I think it was -2.5 for the second half, and they blew the doors off
Blew them
LA.
out. Yeah, they blew
Yeah.
them out. See, that's all new now. You know, all this live betting. You know, years ago we didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
Now it's all, now you could bet quarters. You know, we had prop bets, but we didn't
Right.
have any live betting in the middle of the game. And even with baseball now, you know, you could bet the game in the fourth inning, the fifth inning, and you know, sometimes you could get hurt.
Yeah. One of the things I like doing too is you can pick who scores the first touchdown. If you get lucky on that, you can get some good odds. I remember there was a year I would just pick a lot of the mobile quarterbacks like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson before he was having the city year for getting too many massages, and he would get in there. They would get you some big money, man, if those quarterbacks run it in there.
I mean, here I have the app up now. I mean, I could bet the first quarter here. So the game we're talking about, the Chargers against the Chiefs, it's -4, Kansas City, right? But the first quarter, it's -1.5. It's minus a half a point. So if you want to bet Kansas City just for the first quarter, it's a half a point.
And I like that bet. I would take.
Yeah, that's a good bet, right? People say, "Well, that's a great bet," you know. But you know, people got to remember, and I stress this all the time: the lines are made for the bookmaker. The lines are made for the bookmaker.
Exactly. Well, I do like KC. I'm going to go ahead and take them probably as my game of the week for the NFL. It's my most convincing play because there's a lot of high lines due to a lot of injuries this week. Another total. I like to throw one total in there, even though you and I are kind of on the same page. Totals aren't my favorite, but I do like the Las Vegas, Arizona over. I think it's set at 51 right now. I'm not sure what you got on your end.
Las Vegas, Arizona. Yep. 51.5.
51.5. Okay. So, and that's something we can talk about too, real quick, because a lot of, depending on what site you're using, you know, you will get lines a point, 1.5. There's people that, you know, they look so deep into it, they'll search around out there to find where you can get a 2 point differential, and then you can do things as buying points and then try to middle the game. So that's getting a little bit deeper. That's more of your veteran skill bettors, you know, sets. We're not really going to cater to those guys, but that it's definitely, you want to shop around for your best line. If you have it in your head, the team you want to pick, shop around, see who has the best line, and that would be, you know, the best bang for your buck, because sometimes you might save a half a point or a point, and in our Carolina game last week, a point made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And you know, and all bookmakers are going to move the lines according to their intake, and every bookmaker has different money coming in. So you know, you might have a half a point here, a half a point there. That makes a big difference. So people that, I mean, serious people, like I have a friend of mine that he's just pretty serious. He likes to bet, and he has like 3 or 4 bookmakers. You know, 3 or 4. Now it's not bookmakers, and he has apps. He has, you know, all these apps, and he'll shop around for the best line.
Well, even when it was bookmakers back in the day, I remember my dad on Sundays, I'd watch him call one guy and ask him what they had for this, and he'd write it down, and I'd call another guy, ask him what he had for this, and write it down. I'd be like, why the hell are you calling all these people for asking them for the same game? And he's like, well, depending on who's loading up, he's like, they might have a different line trying to get people to go the other way. So he might try to middle 2 of them.
Right. And gamblers have all the tricks all right, so the Atlanta Falcons and the Rams, it's -10.5, right? The Rams are -10.5. So now if I wanted to bet whoever I want to bet, I would say the other team. So if I want to bet the Rams, I'd say I'll ask for what's the line on the Falcon game? Because sometimes gamblers think that even, you know, the bookmaker on the other end might change the line because they'll think you want to bet the Falcons.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So
a lot of head games.
Yeah, a lot of head games. Yeah, a lot of head games.
But I do like the Las Vegas Arizona game to go over. Las Vegas can put up some points. Arizona didn't have a strong showing, but I got to believe they're going to change that around. Kyler Murray kind of came alive a little bit late, but I got to believe they're going to be, you know, a little bit better prepared this time. I think 51 over 51 is a good bet. Now, when it comes to the teasers, last week our teaser won, our 7-point teaser. Yes. This week I've got another one. I'm going to go with Cleveland who I
Cleveland,
think
okay.
right now I think they're -6 against the Jets. We spoke a little bit off air. The Jets are not looking too hot. I got to think Cleveland basically at this point getting 1 point with a 7-point teaser. That's got to be a lock.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Definitely, the Jets are horrible.
And then also what I'm going to do, and I know some people don't like mixing the same game in with your parlays or your teasers rather, but I'm going to throw Kansas City in that one too because they're at -4. Basically what this does is turn them into a 3-point favorite at home on Thursday night. So my 7-point teaser is Cleveland and Kansas City.
Yeah. And don't forget, it's a teaser.
Yeah, got to win both legs.
There's the reason why they call it a teaser. And there's a reason. Me personally, I agree with your picks. I also like Tampa Bay. I think Brady's got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Coming back out of retirement.
Really strong Sunday night.
I mean, he looked good. He looked good the other day. You know, I have my shirt on for him. I have my Brady shirt on. I wore and I think, you know, he's having some personal issues with his wife. So I think he's going to try to step up, you know. So I like Tampa Bay a little bit myself.
Well, to not play any preseason at all, he went right in there and done the job. And he's just one of those guys that, you know, they say people don't get preferential treatment, but when you've been in the league as long as he has and has the rings and the accolades and the accomplishments, if anybody's going to get treatment like that, it's going to be him, I think.
And I think that's my, if I was gambling this week, I would make a small parlay with Kansas City and Tampa Bay. That's my two picks for this week.
All right, so you got Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Now I am going to throw a little zinger in there. I didn't do it on the first week, but we talked. There's not only 7-point teasers, but there's also 10-point teasers.
Yeah, 3 teams.
With 3 teams. Yeah. Now that's where it gets kind of hairy. But hear me out here now, Anthony. Hear me out. We're going to take the Bills. Now that's a Monday night game, but the Bills are -10 against Tennessee. I think the Bills are probably the odds-on favorite right now to maybe go to the Super Bowl, probably win it.
They are the favorite. They're the Vegas favorite. They are.
So by putting them on that 10-point teaser, you're making them even.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. Coming from a bookmaker standpoint, they love teasers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, so you got to keep that in mind. They love teasers. I mean,
my plan here is I'm trying to make, you know, big underdogs an even game, but at the same time, as we've seen this past week, underdogs still win outright. So you have one, just say if Tennessee has a good game and they hold off Buffalo, then the whole teaser shot. Hopefully that won't happen here because I'm trying to spread this advice. But another one that I'm kind of doing the same thing with, we spoke earlier, Denver. Denver had a horrible showing in Seattle. Yep. They're at home. They're playing the Houston Texans. They're also -10 points. Yep. I got to think they right the ship at home in front of their fans. Russell Wilson kind of sets things right from the other night, and that'll be made to an even game. That'll be my second put on the 10-point teaser. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I like that. Definitely. Wilson definitely has something to prove. I think he's going to go out there and have a big game. And, you know, and if it teases, the 3-team teases, that's the way to go. You know, like a 10-point favorite, Denver, that's at home to make them, you know, pick them. That's a smart move. That's a good move. Instead of making Houston +20 because Houston could get blown out. I mean, it could be a blowout. So you're better off taking the short and making it pick them.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, the third leg, I'm going to actually reach back to my pick of the week on Saturday, and I'm going to throw Oklahoma in there. So basically putting Oklahoma only -0.5 point against Nebraska. I think they definitely win that game. I think they cover it outright, but just making them -0.5 point only makes it that much sweeter. So you have Bills, Denver, and Oklahoma. That is my teaser pick of the week right there. I don't see how that one loses. I'm not saying it won't, so please don't come hunt me down if something happens, but I really do.
I like that. And then plus, if you have the winner on Saturday, you got, you know, you already got action going into Sunday. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
You're kind of hedging the bet at that point. Yeah.
We're already on the board.
And if God forbid something happens, Oklahoma has a quarterback injury or something, and they don't make it, then you can still change. You can add. You can't change it because it'll be a loss. But then you can still take the Bills and Denver and add in another team, maybe like Kansas City that we've talked about. Yeah. So it won't ruin the entire day. So that's our picks this week, folks, for the Bettor and the Bookmaker. Last week, the Bookmaker got the better of the better, so to speak.
Yeah.
So one for the bookmakers here. We'll see if we can't right the ship this week coming back. So, Anthony, whatever you do on your own, my friend, I hope you have a successful weekend. We'll come in back next week. We'll recap these, hopefully with a little bit more green on the better side of things. We'll see how it goes.
So good luck. Good luck. I'll talk to you soon. All
right, my friend. Have a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Bettor and the Bookmaker.
All right. Have a good night.